welcome back to the Gay World of Narcissism's offshoot, of which is entitled Blast from the Past. Tonight is a cautionary tale which is designed for teens, for young'uns, for ones who haven't yet stepped out completely, and I'm here to use my ancient learnings to hopefully at least give you some clues. And again, remember, when you get these clues, these aren't clues to say to someone, hey, you just did this, and I saw a clue that said if someone does this, it means that. No, don't do any of that. This is to stay within your mind and just proceed accordingly and be vigilant, hyper-vigilant. Look it up. But this has to do with older men, which I have a direct experience with. When I was very young, in the 20s, 21, there was a specific older man who found me to be attractive, is what I heard from mutual friends. Yet when I would look at him, I would think attraction is the last thing I would think with someone like that. So I didn't want to lead anybody on, didn't flirt with it, didn't do anything. But he would be nice to me and saying, hey, you're going to that concert tomorrow? Well, if you'd like to stop by my apartment, first I can give you some drinks. And just nice things, which I've learned later resemble love-bombing tactics. But I didn't know any of that then. But he'll be very generous. And if you hear elsewhere, he thinks you're hot or whatever, beware. Because dealing with these types of older people, they will flirt with you. They'll do the flying monkey thing by telling one of your good friends, I think he's really cute. Because the flying monkey will tell you, and if you hear that and think, well, good for him. But the warning here is, if you don't partake in anything, because I've never been the type to think, oh, wow, he's older and rich, I'm going to pretend to like him. I never thought that way. I just never, but people do. But if you're not one like that, you may think that you're safe, because you don't ever lead him on, you don't ever promise him anything, you don't ever hint that you want anything from him, but he's constantly saying, oh, well, you live at home, well, come over and see me, oh, come visit, and he's going to do that, and you may do it because you're a young kid and you're trying to branch out, and here's this older person saying to come over. The problem is it's not a level playing field. Problem is, if this person has the crush on you, they won't necessarily let you know this. So your flying monkeys tell you he thinks you're hot, and then he asks you over to visit, and you have an extra hour before your plans. You may be tempted to think, well, I'm being offered a free drink, sure, and go. But the problem here is these people will not decode what they're doing. So, in my case, I would go over there thinking he's offering a free drink. I never promised him anything. Well, there's harmless drinks. So I would have the drink, and he would never say anything like, I really like you or anything. He would just have me over. So I would just think, well, he may have this crush, but if it's not evident here, and I'm getting a drink. Wow. Problem here is, when he would give the drink or the food or whatever it was, I would be tempted to think, well, this isn't really fair. I'm at his house. So I would offer, well, what should I give you in return for the drink or the food? And they will always seem to say, oh, nothing. Because they're putting on the illusion that you are welcome there. And they're only happy to have your presence with them. And they wouldn't dare be so petty as to think of the price of a drink. Well, all this is part of their game, because when they're doing these things, which you may not know, which I didn't know, they have it in their mind they're going to win you eventually. And the more resistance you put up, or the more you don't respond, the more valuable you become to them in many cases. So beware, because each time you try to make it fair by saying, well, wait, I just ate your dinner and your drinks, let me give you some, they won't take it. Because if they take it, that kind of gives away something, or it kind of ruins their game. So they won't, even if they're poor and use their last penny for it. So that's what this cautionary tale is for. Beware for the older guy who you know has a crush on you, but hasn't necessarily told you so, or maybe he has. If you continue to feed his advances, he's going to eventually feel that it's never spoken, but he's going to feel the unwritten rule or law that I've given him this, 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 this. It's time for him to repay me. But he'll never say that to you. He will just keep it in his mind and continue to try to get that to happen. Now, in this particular case, just one example was I would see him out. I never let him on, but it was a weeknight and I was at a nightclub. I went to lots of nightclubs as a kid, but I always just talked to him, said hello, again, never winked and nothing like that. But one particular night I was on my way home and the car would not start. So I was like trapped downtown, and I lived in suburban town like 20 minutes away. So I kind of felt lost because at this hour at the bar, it was kind of like the only person I really knew closely was him, the older guy, which I had no attraction for at all, ever. Yet he was always nice and generous and friendly, so I figured, well, he's a friend. So I went to him and I said, hey, my car won't start. Is there any way you could, I hate to do this, but could you give me a ride home? It's about 20 minutes. And he said, sure. So I thought, oh, great. Well, it was time to go, and he said, oh, I want to go by my apartment first. And then he drove me, and I thought, well, who am I to argue with that, even though I had a curfew, and it was like already, I even said, I've got to be home by this time, and blah, blah, blah. And then here it was, that time. So, of course, I used the phone and called parents. Oh, I'm going to be a little late. The car's broken. I'm getting a ride, da-da-da. But still, I was at his mercy, and it was kind of scary because I didn't know him that well. I mean, he was superficial. So, for all I know, I could have been locked up, tied up, and murdered. But luckily, that didn't happen, obviously. Actually, I'm the clone of the previous me. But anyway, he started acting kind of strange. Like he'd say, oh, hold on. And he'd go over to his stereo and like put a disc or a cassette or whatever it was at that time frame. And I think, I was just thinking, I need to be home. And I've already told him this, and we've already stopped here. And I didn't know what he was up to. For all I know, maybe he thought I made the story up about the car just to go over there, but that's not what happened. So finally I was like, well, I need to be home. So finally he agreed, and he drove me home in one piece, and I was kind of frightened, but he took me home. Anyway, the point here is it could have turned out differently. He could have murdered me. He could have done anything. And I'm just here to warn you, if you've got those types of people that hang around your circle and they do have a secret interest in you, don't accept too much from them, because even though they'll never admit to it, they will believe that you owe them something in return for all they've given you. And they'll tell you you're selfish if you accept it all, but don't give it to them. Don't fall for this. It's not worth it.